important to understand, because what we start finding out is that all these plants that we've been calling natural foods come from natural foods, but no longer have their effect anymore that they used to have. Because lettuce, which I think is funny, because I think of lettuce as our most inert, innocuous, most like gentle, happy, even people who don't eat plants eat lettuce, because they get burgers that have that clear piece of lettuce. What if they knew that that was actually from a narcotic plant? What do you call the sap from wild lettuce? Lettuce opium. You get it out just like you get opium. You slice the stalk, and you let it bleed sap, and you gather the sap, which you can eat or smoke or put into a tincture and consume that way. And it was used all through history as an opium replacement when people were addicted to opium. It was used as a sleep medication for adults and children. Still used that way amongst herbalists. That's where your lettuces come from. But there's something that's missing in them. It's not just the drug, but it's the flavor, which we said was? I thought, you know, if I found the wild lettuce that I would have, like, because I was looking for wild food. I'd go into the supermarket, I'd get all this food, and then I'd go into nature, and everything was like, what does it taste like? Bitter. Bitter. How much can you eat? Not much. Like, who's eating? I know one that everyone knows, dandelion. Who's eating a raw piece of wild dandelion? How's it taste? Bitter. Who loves to throw a huge salad of those together and just eat them raw?
I tried it
Yeah,
once.
you tried it once. Yeah, Cassidy's like, I kind of do that.
He's like, oh,
Yeah. But you've probably noticed you can't eat very much of it, can you? It's funny because when you're raised around a lot of unnatural plants that have had their bitter component taken out, it's easy to assume that human beings are probably plant eaters. It gets interesting when you go in nature. You start realizing how you ate a dandelion salad one time, and you're a freak about this stuff. Like if you could eat, you go to springs and gather wild water, right?
Yeah.
True. If you could eat dandelion all day long, you'd probably switch from lettuce to dandelion, except you can't.
No. Maybe like
It's what?
Medicine.
Okay, and we all know, because there's a saying about it. We all know that the what taste of medicine? Everyone heard that saying, the bitter taste of medicine, or we'll say something is bitter medicine. And who's ever tasted traditionally prepared medicine? It's usually got a bitter flavor. Who's ever chewed up a pharmaceutical drug?
Bitter.
Bitter, right? It's interesting, because the bitter part, when we remove it from the plant, and we breed the plant to be bigger and sweeter and plumper, it allows us to eat a lot more of it. But because there's no medicine in it, our bodies start to suffer from a lack of medicine. This is interesting, because what role are plants really meant to play in our diets? Well, they're really medicinal. They're actually meant to be the medicines. And then I really started meditating on this idea. This was one of the things that really influenced my whole nutritional journey, was this idea of let food be thy medicine, and then medicine be thy food. Who's heard that? Put your hand up. Seriously, put your hand up if you heard that. Clap if you've heard that. All right, take it out. Thank you. I just need everyone to wake up. We all heard that. Let food be thy medicine and medicine be thy food. And we know that medicine tastes how? Bitter. It tastes how?
Bitter.
Okay, medicine tastes bitter. Now, if we let food be our medicine and medicine be our food, we're going to need to eat foods that taste
Bitter.
Okay, so we go to the supermarket. We're going to get some. And we got the lettuces, but they're not really bitter anymore. In fact, if they were, they would get us high. Okay, that's not going to count. We go over to like the carrot parsnip section. Same family of plants.
sweet.
Yeah, they're so full of sugar now that you have to be careful not to give yourself candida when you eat them. Right, and then we go over to, I like the nightshade family. Who knows those plants? You want to start calling out what our nightshades are?
Eggplant.
Eggplant. Okay, whoa, wait.
Tomatoes.
No.
Ooh, most people don't know that. It's a solanaceous plant, you're right.
And
Goji berry. Goji berry. That's a solanation plant. Tomato, potato, eggplant, peppers. No, it's a melon. Anyone ever seen, by the way, you know when you go to the farmer's market, you've got a lot better options, obviously. I'm ripping on all these domesticated vegetables like I rip on your pet dogs. But I get that you love your dogs, and I love dogs too, and I also love these vegetables, but it's a great chance to just tear this stuff apart because we've been actually brutalized with this information of how much of this stuff we're supposed to eat, and none of it even comes from the natural world at all. So I think it's important to look at. When you go to the farmer's market, you ever see a bell pepper black? Anyone seen those purple black bell peppers? Starting to show up now in the stores? Who's seen the purple potatoes?
Yeah.
Purple eggplants? Yeah? Anybody seen the purplish tomato?
Purple
Yeah.
cauliflower.
Purple cauliflower? No, that doesn't count. That's a different family of
Purple
plants.
kale.
I'll talk about those in a second, though. I will talk about those. Anyone ever seen... Now, there's a group of nightshade plants that we don't use for food, but have a long history in the West. Mostly amongst women. Mostly consumed in groups of 13 women. What plants did those women work with? The witches. What did they take? They used belladonna, mandrake, henbane. Here we have one real powerful one, datura. You guys know that plant? Jimson weed. Anyone ever eat Jimson weed? Anyone know anyone who's eaten Jimson weed?
Yeah.
If you don't know Jimson weed, it's a creeping nightshade with a big trumpet flower, real strong smell. Often you'll hear it's poisonous. If you dig past that little veil of the urban legend and you dig in, you find out, oh, it's actually incredibly psychoactive. And if you dare to get any closer and find out how psychoactive, you find out that consumption of the seeds leads to a 5-day trip. That's so terrifying that most shamans will never touch that plant. That most people who use that plant say that they spent 5 days in the land of the dead. That you speak to dead friends, dead pets. That you think you're dead. It's like being in you know, well said. Okay, it's like 5 days in Halloween Walmart. Out of that family of plants, the family of plants that brings us these psychedelic nightshades, and the nightshade family psychedelics are like you would think, nightshade. It's like creepy. The high is creepy. If you look at herbal lore, or if you're into shamanism and you look at the use of psychoactive plants, by the way, there's a lot of psychoactive plants in nature, and if you look at the psychoactive traditions through time, you can start to get a vibe for what the different plant high is like, because you look at the cannabis culture, say in India. Anyone seen the sadhus? Okay, like no clothes, big dreads, sit around all day, getting free food and smoking pot.
Yeah.
You get a little idea of what ganja's about. It's like, I don't really want to work. I'm going to hang out over here and smoke. You guys got any rice? Yeah, by the way, I'm really holy right now.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's kind of ganja. You look at what psychedelic mushrooms do, and you end up with a culture, or cacao, you end up with a culture like the Mayans. Really intricate mathematical minds. You look at the witches, and you get this like weird like toads with wings flying around, and like baby fat as the extraction method in their pots, and like this creepy woodcut art. Well, it's because the plants they were using were the nightshades. The nightshades, when you get high on them, what happens is the first experience is usually really extreme pupil dilation. Then heart rate. Then frenzied high. Lots of respiration. If you push it further, you die. Out of that family of plants, we've bred the tomato. Now, the tomato comes from what country, you think? Peru. And it was a berry, small berry, and it's poisonous. It's poisonous. We have the potato, was poisonous. Poisonous plant. The peppers, they were poisonous. In fact, today, it's not good to eat those little eyes that grow on the potato. Has anyone heard that? Because that poison's in there. Or the leaf of the tomato. Out of that, we have bred out these poisons. And we've turned them into big, sweet, juicy oversized. Now, if you think about the eggplant as having been, at one point in its history, a berry, you start to go, oh, that's the Great Dane of that. It's like, really huge, bloated, blimped up, oversized berry. So So it's like that whole thing of like, oh, I'm getting off of the meats and I'm getting off that. I had eggplant today. I'm on a natural food diet. It's like, dude, that thing you just ate could have been in Ghostbusters. What is that? And I like eggplants, but it's true. That poison that's in there, it's interesting because if you think of the poison, say in belladonna, it will kill you. I mean, it kills kids every year. And by the way, that's a fairly sweet-tasting blackberry. Kills people every year. So we know it's a deadly poison. But we also know that, how did the witches use it? It's a drug. Fair to say? It's a drug. By the way, they would create oil extractions, which they would rub on broomsticks. Because the broomstick was the symbol of what? The home, the hearth, of femininity, of keeping the household. So they would rub this oil-based extraction on the broomstick, and then they would run around the fire naked with the broomstick between their legs, and that would get inside the mucous membranes of their vaginas, and it would be absorbed through there, and they would get extremely high, and the witches flying on broomsticks comes out of that. And much more of the legends we have about witches, by the way, which I won't go into right now. But
what? Real quick, belladonna in the eyes. What
okay, now I'm going to get to that. I'm going to get to that. So we say that if you eat too much of it, it's what? It's a poison. Everyone agree with that? Kills you. But if you eat a little bit less, it's a what? No, it's a drug. I mean, you're getting high with it. There's really no other thing going on.